Thank you, Karuna, for making me part of this and allowing me to be part of Gandhi Center. If I can just
You want to pull it? You want to handle it?
actually, I think everyone can hear me, right? I mean, I also I don't think need the mic so much today, but since it's here, why not? Yeah, that's good.
There you go.
Yeah, so thank you, Karuna, for including me into this wonderful program, which we have been doing for many years. I miss my, people who used to join me, as Karuna mentioned, Jeffrey Bauer and Fred Dixon. They're not here today. But let me try to give you a glimpse of who Rabindranath Tagore was. And so I'll divide my time into two parts, like a small, some slides. I'll show you some slides and I'll just tell you a little bit about Tagore. And then I'll try to present some of his music to you. So Rabindranath Tagore, as Karuna very rightly said, he was a Renaissance man. So it's really very, I find it overwhelming to see, I mean, what so many things he did, you know. So he was a writer and he wrote all sorts of genres like short stories, novels, poetries, music. Like he used to write the lyrics and set tunes to that. And then so everything, and then he started a school, experimental school, and he was a social reformer. So he played very different roles, and he was the first Asian to get the Nobel Prize in literature. So as I said, he's a visionary. So he was born in Kolkata. Kolkata is a city in India, the eastern part of India, and this is his ancestral house. So the Tagore family was a very prominent family in Kolkata, and they played a very important role in what is called the Bengal Renaissance. So at that time, India was under the British rule. So the nice thing about the Tagore family was they were incorporating different things from different cultures. They stressed on Western education, like the family had a very good solid background in English as well as the native language, which was Bangla. As Karuna said, these all paintings are from Bangladesh, who also speak the same language, Bangla, which was part of India at that time. And then the family was also incorporating Arabic and Persian. So they were getting a very well rounded world exposure of values and traditions. So he was born into that family. And so this, as I said, so this was Kolkata at that time. And that was the capital of the British administration. Now, of course, India's capital is Delhi, which was moved much later on, but that time Kolkata was the capital. So during this Bengal Renaissance, there were quite a few social reformers who were working to, in some sense, make the society more equal and inclusive. Like, for example, this Raja Rammohn Roy, who was part of this social reform, who made a lot of changes in terms of women's lives in India. Like, there were many traditions practiced at that time which were not really, favorable towards women. So he brought them to attention to the administration, and they passed a lot of acts to reform and make things better. And he also founded a religion which was based on more or less the Hindu philosophy, but mostly on what is called the Vedas and the Upanishads, which are the most ancient religious texts in the Hindu religion. So the religion that he founded, Raja Rammohn Rai, is called Brahmo, and it is more on the idea of one universal God who is formless, shapeless, and he is there everywhere, he or whatever pronoun you want to use. So God is everywhere, smaller than the smallest and bigger than the biggest, everywhere, all pervading. So, but there was, as opposed to the Hindu practice of worshipping idols, this new sect did not have any idols. So he founded that. And there was this man also who was a big social reformer during the same time, who was again doing, revolutionary things for the women, like, the Hindu women, when they were widowed, they couldn't marry again. So he was trying to change that and also introduce education for the women. So this was another person who was instrumental in bringing a lot of change during that time. So Tagore family was also extremely instrumental in doing all this. So these are all the pictures of their house. So this is his father, Rabindranath's father. His name was Debendranath Tagore, and he was a philosopher and a great scholar of Sanskrit. And he used to train Tagore from a very early age on different aspects of life. So Tagore, so he used to take him to the trips to the Himalayas. So he was a very spiritual person, and he used to go to the Himalayas, the great mountain that we have in India. And he used to take Tagore with him. And when he was with his father, with Debendranath used to assign him different types of chores for the whole day. Like he used to sing spiritual hymns, and then he also used to do a lot of physical exercise. And then he was very young at the time, maybe 7 or 8, but he also gave him the responsibility of the expenditure, the daily expenditure. So he was trying to give him a hands-on training on everything. So this is when Tagore was 6 years old. And so he had many talented brothers also. So Rabindranath Tagore had many brothers and sisters, and they were also extremely talented. One of them was Jyotirindranath Tagore, who was also a very gifted playwright and a pianist and a composer. But since he was Rabindranath Tagore's brother, he was kind of overshadowed because Rabindranath was such a genius. But he left a very, important impression on young Tagore's life. So Tagore started writing when he was like 12, 13, and he first published when he was a teenager. His first book was called The Evening Songs. So as I said, this is like a painting by one of the family members who was again a very famous painter. His name was Abanindranath Tagore, who also had a lot of Japanese style influence paintings and Mughal styles. So this is a painting of Debendranath with his son Rabindranath. So before I go into this slide, so Tagore was, as you know, he was sent to a school, and he felt extremely claustrophobic in the school. He just could not survive inside the classroom sitting with so many students. He couldn't survive, so he was sent to another school, and he just could not adjust. So his father thought that he will homeschool him. So he was homeschooled. But after a point, the family decided that he would go to England to study law, which was kind of quite, I would say, pretty much common among the elite class during that time in India. They used to send their sons to England for studying law. So Tagore also went there. But unfortunately, there also he found it extremely boring. He couldn't finish his law degree. But what was really fascinating was he got to listen to different styles of Western music, like the classical and the opera and the folk music, and that left a very strong impression in his mind. So when he came back to India, he started composing music, which he started even before he went to England. So he started composing where he incorporated these styles. So I'll do one or two numbers which are influenced by Old Lang Syne, for example, the Scottish melody. And then he also wrote the first opera in Bengali. And the subject was also very interesting, which I found really find fascinating, that this was inspired by the Western opera. The subject was a very, what should I say, traditional Indian story, which is about the person who wrote the great epic Ramayana. So this was called Valmiki Pratibha. So the person who wrote the Ramayana, the great epic, his name was Valmiki, who was actually, he was like a robber. So he was staying in the forest with kind of Robin Hood. Not exactly. He was simply a robber. So he had his own troops, and but suddenly he saw, a hunter come and kill two birds, and some transformation happened to him inside, and he completely renounced that violence, and he became, like a saint. And then he wrote the Ramayana. So he depicted all this whole story in the form of an opera. So that's very fascinating, because the whole story is very traditional, but the music that he incorporated, the main style was opera, and also he incorporated different genres, like many Indian traditional genres, but also some Western tunes there also. Like when those, he had a big band of robbers when they're singing those very, vigorous songs. And so that was very interesting. So coming back to his brother Jyotirindranath, whom I mentioned a little while ago, who was also extremely talented, and his wife was also very talented and very unconventional, according to the time when she was leaving. Like most Hindu women were staying inside, Indian women were staying inside indoors, not going outside of the house. And she was riding a horse on the streets of Kolkata, which was kind of quite revolutionary. She was acting in plays, and she herself wrote very well, and she inspired Tagore a lot. So she was a very important, played a very important role in Tagore's formative years. Then Tagore got married. His wife's name was Mrinalini. And so they started living in their estates in Bangladesh. Like all these paintings, these are from Bangladesh, which was then part of India. And the Tagore family had a big estate in Bangladesh, which in the place called Shilaidaho. So he took his wife there, and they were having a very nice life there. And this Shilaidaho actually played a very important role in Tagore's life, because he started his married life there. They were having a very nice, blissful life. And not only that, in the later part of his life also, his father gave him the responsibility of this estate. So he used to go stay there sometimes just by himself. And he used to stay, let me see if I have that. Yes. So he used to stay in this boat on the river. And he used to observe the life on the bank of the river, like the village life. And that, I mean, it generated so much creativity inside him. He wrote some of the best poetries, some of the best songs, some of the best short stories, some of the best letters. So, as Karuna said, he's written so much. I mean, I really don't know how he got so much time. So, he used to reply to all the letters which were written to him, and those were like thousands and thousands. Just like one person I know, he wrote like 500 letters during her lifetime, and there were many others like that. So he has volumes of letters also. I don't know how he found the time, but and so then his children were born. So he had 5 children, and then he started thinking about how he's going to take care of their education. And so parallelly, his literary life was going. He was writing, he was publishing, he was editing, he was the editor of some of the most famous journals in India, I mean in Bengal. And then so he was thinking how to educate his children. And then he remembered his own unpleasant memories in the school. And then this idea started, forming in his mind that I have to, start a new experimental school. So they also had some estate in the western part of Bengal, and that place is called Shanti Niketan, which means the abode of peace. Shanti means peace, and Niketan means the abode. So this was a rural part of West Bengal, and so his father actually bought this estate, and this house was bought by him. So around this estate, Tagore started an experimental school, where it was a residential experimental school. In some sense, it had the tradition of Indian ashrams, where the students come and stay with the teachers, and they don't pay anything. Everything is taken care of by the teachers. So, like the ashram, whoever is the founder of that ashram will take care of all financial needs of the students. They're not charged anything, but they stay there 24 hours, get to learn from their teachers. But what was revolutionary in Tagore school was he didn't have like a fixed curriculum for all the children of the same age. So somebody is doing, say, math fourth level, and say English at the maybe first level. So it was so much flexible, and they all the fine arts was a very important part of their life, and to get to know the nature and the villages around them, and to appreciate the environment. So he incorporated a lot of festivals in their curriculum. Like all the seasons were celebrated, then the harvest was celebrated, and they had a ceremony called in Bengali we call Brikhoropon, which means planting of trees, how trees are important. And all these were happening so many years back. He was doing all this. So this was a wonderful school which he set up. So these are his, with his eldest daughter and son. This is the prayer hall, which was actually made by Devendranath, his father. But then he came and started the school. And there's also an incident behind this that that Devendranath actually was sitting and meditating. He was a very spiritual man. That this meditation hall was not there at that time. He was just sitting on the field and meditating, and he was attacked by some robbers. And so they said, "We are going to kill you." So he said, "Please let me finish my meditation and then kill me." And so he finished his meditation, but by the time he finished, these people were transformed. I mean, they were so overwhelmed looking at, they didn't kill him. And then he made this meditation hall there, and it became an important part of the Tagore family. So, and the classes were always under the trees. So they didn't have any classrooms because he had those unpleasant memories of claustrophobic kind of thing in the classroom. So classes were always under the trees. So it was a very nice, free-flowing atmosphere. So these are some pictures of Shantiniketan. And he was bringing international scholars from all over the world in Shantiniketan. Like there were Japanese scholars, Chinese scholars, European scholars who were all visiting. So this was a school, but then he started thinking about whether he should expand it to a little bigger horizon. So he expanded it to a university, and which he named Bishwa Bharati. Bishwa means the world, Bharati means the India. So the connection of the world with India. And so he was having all this. I think this one is like called the China Bhavan, which means it's a place where people learn Chinese. So there are like Japanese center and things like that. And I was telling you about the festivities like celebrating. This is a very famous festival, which is actually celebrated all over India. It's called the Holi. Maybe some of you know about it. The Festival of Colors. So, and every year he would write some new songs for his students, give them some new songs. So this is the art and music school there. And these are some of the best sculptures that Shantiniketan still has displayed in their grounds. So then came this dramatic moment when Tagore was set to go to London, and he was about to aboard the ship, and he fainted. And so the doctor said that you are not physically fit to travel. You need to recuperate for some time. So he went back to his estate in Bangladesh, like Shilaidaho, and so he started recuperating. And while he was recuperating, he writes to one of his very favorite nieces that I was recuperating, and the doctor said you cannot tax your brain too much. So you need to take a break from your creativity. So he was translating. So he said, okay, let me just do some translations of my poems from Bengali to English. So it was just by chance that he started translating his poems. He didn't have, any kind of a agenda that I have to reach the whole world or anything. So he started translating his poems. And when he was well enough to travel, he boarded the ship with his notebooks. And when he went to England, he showed these poems to one of his painter friend, whom we see here at the back. You see this person on the far right standing. His name is Rodenstein. So he was a painter. So he showed his poems to him, and he was extremely impressed. And so he said that I'm going to have a small gathering. You read these poems, and he invited many writers and important people there. And in that gathering, there was the famous poet William Butler Yeats. And then he got so moved by these poems that he writes in his memoirs that I was traveling by a double-decker bus and I was reading the poems. I just could not hold my tears back. I was just crying. And this was the time when Europe was going through a very bad period in history. The World War was looming large. And so it made a very deep impact there. And so Yeats immediately, started compiling this as a book. This was published immediately, sold million copies, and then Tagore was nominated for a Nobel Prize. He won the Nobel Prize in 1913, And even before he got the Nobel Prize, as Karuna was mentioning, we did a project. Karuna helped me so much with that. So his poems were not only translated in English, it was translated in almost all world languages like German, Italian, Spanish, and it was making big impacts. Like in Germany, at some point of time, it was the most the highest selling book, Gitanjali. This book is called Gitanjali, or the Song Offerings. You have a copy of that there later on. You can have a look at that. So this was William, so Tagore during that time. And so I'll come to this a little later. And the Spanish translation also had a very big impact because it was not only Spain, but the whole Latin America got to know about Tagore through the Spanish translations like Pablo Neruda and Gabriela, what's her last name? I forget. But she was also a very famous author. So they were very much influenced by Mistral, yes. Mistral, yes. Mistral. Gabriela Mistral, yes.
She was a Nobel Prize winner.
Right. She later on won the Nobel Prize, and she was very influenced by Tagore. So all that happened during this time, and it was all by an accident because he fell ill and he started translating. Anyway, and Tagore visited United States many times, and he was a big admirer of United States. I think it was during the First or the Second World War. Woodrow Wilson was the president during which time? The second, right? The Second World War? Before, yes. So at that time, he wrote a letter to President Woodrow Wilson that I think my only hope of saving the world from another war is America. America can save the world from another war. So he was very, very, he was a great admirer of United States. In fact, the idea of founding the university, he had the school, but founding the university dawned in his mind when he was actually giving lectures in Santa Barbara. So he came to United States many times. He gave a lot of lectures. So this is a picture of Urbana-Champaign, the University of Urbana-Champaign, where he sent his son to study agriculture because he was doing all that. He was trying to, do some rural reconstruction around the village where he set up his school. And as opposed to the elites in India at that time would send their mostly sons, to UK. But he sent his son to the United States. He was such a big fan of the United States. And he came here, I think, at least 5 or 6 times and gave lectures. And one funny incident, which I cannot, stop myself from saying, that there was a report after one of his lectures that his lectures were all sold out. Sometimes they had to have another day because re-performance, something like that. So he was, the report said that he was, quote unquote, admonishing the Americans for their materialism. And he was charging in those days $1,000 for his lectures. So that was the report. Tagore admonishing Americans for their materialism. And he's charging $1,000 for his lectures in those days. So, but anyway, he had a very big influence. So as Karuna already said, that he was very, very close to Mahatma Gandhi. They were the greatest friends, I would say, because in some sense, they were extremely lonely in their lives. They were so great. It was difficult for them to find really a companionship, so to say, but they were great friends. They were very different in many ways. They didn't agree on many things, but that never deterred their friendship. That's the greatest thing which I admire most of their friendship is they were so different. They had public debates. They used to write against each other in the newspaper. Not a personal attack, but something which they did not agree. So they used to have public debates, but right after having that debate, if somebody said something, not so nice about Mahatma Gandhi, immediately Tagore would come up publicly and say, you cannot say those things about him. He does what he believes. I may not agree with him, but you just cannot do that. And then Mahatma Gandhi, every time he used to take a big step, like any big decision, he used to write to Tagore and he used to say that I need your blessings before I start that. Starting his non-cooperation, whatever. Whenever he did anything, he would first write to Tagore. So they had a wonderful friendship. And when the last time when Mahatma Gandhi visited Tagore in his school in Shantiniketan. Tagore was like 80 at that time. So he told Mahatma Gandhi that you have to take care of my school when I'm not here. So that was their friendship was just amazing. I mean, that kind of, I mean, sometimes we see so much of intolerance these days in terms of opinions that I cannot talk to that person because he believes that kind of thing. So this is an example when two person not agreeing on everything could be so close and influence each other so much. So this is kind of a map which I did to show you where all Tagore went. So he traveled all over the world. And very recently, Karuna sent an article to me that's so interesting that he traveled to Iran. I thought maybe just once, but more than once, twice. That was his first air travel. I didn't know about that. So he went everywhere. I mean, and he tried to incorporate many things back to his school. So this is Tagore at the Cornell University. And these are with some of, the important people during that time. So with Einstein, he had, I think, 4 meetings, and those were also very interesting because one was a scientist, the other was a poet, but Einstein's daughter, Margot, and her husband was there during the meeting. And so Margot's husband somewhere wrote that it was as if a poet with a mind of a scientist and a scientist with a heart of a poet, they're talking. So the connection was great. And then this Victoria Ocampo was a very influential writer, a feminist, a social activist in Argentina. And he had also a very important role in Tagore's life. So Tagore was set to go to Chile, and he fell ill and he had to stop at Argentina. So Victoria Ocampo actually read Tagore's work and was extremely influenced by it. I mean, when he fell ill in Argentina, so Victoria thought that this is my chance to be, spend some time with Tagore. So he rented a big villa. He sold her own diamond necklace for that. Rented a big villa and hosted Tagore for 4 weeks, I think. And they had a very, very beautiful friendship. So they inspired each other's, and Tagore used to do a lot of doodles around his work. So Victoria actually suggested that you should do more of paintings and drawings. So at the age of 70, he started painting, and Victoria arranged Tagore's paintings exhibitions in Paris. So this is at one of those exhibitions. This is with Romarola. This is in Moscow. As I said, he started painting at the age of 70. So here you can see this doodle which he has done around his writing, which is a very famous poem, which I think most of us know, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. So this is a very nice, inclusive, and a very liberal, dream that he had about his country. So I think I'll stop here.
Then offer some music?
Offer some music.
Do you have any images you want on the screen?
Yes, I do. Okay. Yes. So I can take the laptop there, or can someone help me here? Whatever.
Nicholas will help. You want him to just put the
I'll just I may not do everything, so yeah. So full screen. So we may skip a few of these. Okay.
And Sudeshna, we do have an international car here. We have Chile and France represented.
That's fantastic. That's what I like about Gandhi Center. Someone is asking me who were all there during Gandhi Jayanti. I said, you name any country, there was someone from that country. Okay, so this instrument is called harmonia. This is an instrument which traveled from France to India. Very surprising. Its origin is France, but it became a part of Indian music. Bring it from that side. Is it possible? And that other small thing, are you going to have that too? Or?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring that
Okay.
now. How's that?
That's good.
That's good there?
Mhm.
I don't know what we would do without Tony and Nicholas, and I don't even want
I
to
cannot
ever try to
imagine-
imagine.
I cannot imagine Gandhi Center without them anymore. You know? I need a notebook. Where's my notebook? Yep. So I'll start with something. This is from the Upanishads. As you can see, it's one of the ancient texts of India, and these are some of the verses from the Upanishads, but the music is composed by Tagore. So I'll start with that. And for this part, I'm going to use what is called, I'm using the electronic version. Actually, it's a string instrument called the tanpura, which just has the basic notes. It's kind of a drone. So I don't have the actual, but I'm going to use my digital tanpura, and so I'll start with this.
Next time I'll bring Tanpura
Yeah,
down.
that would be
Show
nice.
them.
Yeah. Mm. Tamishwaranam paramam maheshwaram tvang devatanam paramancha vedatam patipatinam paramam parastat hridamadevam bhuvaneshamidyam yetad viduramrita ste bhavanti yetad viduramritaste bhavanti yetad viduramrita ste bhavanti natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate natasamascha vadikasya drishyate parasya shaktir vividhaiva sruyate स्वाभाविकी ज्ञानबलक्रिया च यैतद् विदुरामृता स्ते भवन्ति यैतद् विदुरामृतास्ते bhavanti yetad viduramrita ste bhavanti nachasya kaschi patirasti loke nacheshita daiva chatyasya lingam स्वकारणं करणाधिपाधिपो न चास्य कश्चि जनिता न चाधिपः यैतद् विदुरामृता स्ते भवन्ति yetad viduramritaste bhavanti विश्वकर्मा महात्मा सदा जननां हृदये सन्निविष्टा हृदामनिसा मनसा वितृप्तो ये तद्विदुरमृतास्ते भवन्ति ये तद् विदुरमृतास्ते भवन्ति ये तद् विदुरमृतास्ते भवन्ति ये तद् विदुरमृतास्ते भवन्ति. Thank you.
Is this like a prayer or?
Yeah, it's like a prayer, yes. It's part of the Upanishad, which is one of the ancient Hindu texts. So this is like a prayer which Tagore said to music, especially for the religion that I was telling you, Brahmo, where they were worshipping formless God. So they used to do this during their prayers, their services. Yeah.
So it's what's on the screen, a translation.
That's a translation, yes. So I'm providing with all the translations of what I'm singing. Yeah, so the next one, please. Yeah. So now I'll try to show you how he has incorporated from different types of music. Like this one is called, this is from the Indian classical music. So we have some certain melodies, and those melodies are based on which time of the day we are singing it. Like this one is called Bhim Palashri, and it is sung during the afternoon. So the melodies which we call rag is something like we have a fixed set of notes which we use to portray that melody, but also with the same note sometimes we can have two different melodies, the rags, because it's also how we are using the notes. Like maybe we have the same notes, but the way they are used gives a new melody. So this is called Bhim Palashri, which is an afternoon rag, and this is a translation of the song that I will sing for you. বিপুল তরঙ্গরে বিপুল তরঙ্গরে সব গগন উদ্বেলিয়া মগন করি অতীত অনাগত আলোকে উজ্জ্বল জীবনে চঞ্চল একই আনন্দ তরঙ্গ বিপুল তরঙ্গরে তাই দুলিছে দিন কর চন্দ্র তারা দুলিছে দিন কর চন্দ্র তারা চমকি কম্পিছে চেতনা ধারা আকুল চঞ্চল নাচে সংসার কুহরে হৃদয় বিহঙ্গ বিপুল তরঙ্গরে বিপুল তরঙ্গরে. Thank you. Next one. Yeah, so this is a rag which is sung during the dusk. So when the day is ending and the night is evolving, so that kind of a time. Sometimes it's also sung during dawn. So the transition of day and night. So this melody is called Purvi. শ্রান্ত কেন ওহে পান্থ পথ প্রান্তে বসে একই খেলা আজি বহে অমৃত সমীরণ চলো চলো এই বেলা শ্রান্ত কেন ওহে দ্বারে হেরো ত্রিভুবন দাঁড়ায় সেথা অনন্ত উৎসব জাগে তার দ্বারে হেরো ত্রিভুবন দাঁড়ায় সেথা অনন্ত উৎসব জাগে সকল শোভা গন্ধ সঙ্গীতে আনন্দের মেলা শ্রান্ত কেন হে পান্থ পথ প্রান্তে বসে একে খেলা next one so
Sudeshna, what is the Bangla word for fragrance?
here is the fragrance
Fragrance of music?
Gran, Shukran.
Shukran.
So it's a Sanskrit word actually. So these words and the tune both are by Tagore. So now I am singing a melody which is called Malkos, and this is sung in the very late part of the night, like after midnight. It's a very somber kind of a rag.
You said Malkans, but this is Yaman Kalyan.
Oh, what is? Oh, sorry. I'll first do Yaman Kans. Thank you for pointing out. Yeah, so this is Yaman Kalyan. So this is also. So I first started with an afternoon rag and then dusk, and now this is like early evening rag. Yeah, thank you. মহাবিশ্বে মহাকাশে মহাকালো মাঝে আমি মানব একাকী ভ্রমি বিষয়ে মহাবিশ্বে মহাকাশে মহাকালো মাঝে তুমি আছো বিশ্বনাথ অসীম রহস্য মাঝে তুমি আছো বিশ্বনাথ অসীম রহস্য মাঝে নীরবে একাকী আপন মহিমা নীলায় মহাবিশ্বে মহাকাশে মহাকালো মাঝে অনন্ত দেশ কালে অগণ্য দীপ্ত লোকে তুমি আছো চাহি আমি চাহি তোমা পানে স্তব্ধ সর্ব কোলাহল শান্তি মগ্ন চরাচর এক তুমি তোমা মাঝে আমি একা নির্ভয়ে মহাবিশ্বে মহাকাশে মহাকালো মাঝে The next one is, as I was saying earlier, this is like we sing it after midnight. It's called Malkos. বহিছে ভুবনে আনন্দ ধারা, বহিছে ভুবনে দিন রজনী, কত অমৃত রস উথলি যায় অনন্ত গগনে আনন্দ ধারা, বহিছে ভুবনে পান করে রবি শশী অঞ্জলি ভরিয়া, সদা দীপ্ত রহে অক্ষয় জ্যোতি, নিত্য পূর্ণ ধারা জীবনে কিরণে আনন্দ ধারা, বহিছে ভুবনে। বসিয়া আছো কেন আপন মনে, স্বার্থ নিমগ্ন কি কারণে, চারিদিকে দেখো চাহি হৃদয় প্রসাদ, ক্ষুদ্র দুঃখ সব তুচ্ছ মানে, প্রেম ভরিয়া লহ শূন্য জীবনে আনন্দ ধারা, বহিছে ভুবনে। How much time do we have?
We have lots of time.
Okay, good.
It goes
So-
to 11:15. So we have
Okay, so we have almost half an hour. Good. So, very traditionally, when we do Indian music, it's a tradition that if the program starts in the evening, the artist will do some evening compositions, but always invariably will end with what is called Bhairavi. Bhairavi is a morning melody, but it is actually it's very flexible. It's sung almost all parts of the day, and it's also quite popular for compositions which are called light classical music, not just classical but light. So this is also inspired by the light form of classical music. আজ তোমারে দেখতে এলে অনেক দিনের পরে, আজ তোমারে দেখতে এলে অনেক দিনের পরে, ভয় করো না সুখে থাকো, বেশিক্ষণ থাকবো না কো, এসেছি দণ্ড দুয়ের তরে, আজ তোমারে দেখতে এলে, দেখবো শুধু মুখখানি, শোনাও যদি শুনবো বাণী, দেখবো শুধু মুখখানি, শোনাও যদি শুনবো বাণী, না হয় যাবো আড়াল থেকে হাসি দেখে দেশান্তরে, না হয় যাবো আড়াল থেকে হাসি দেখে দেশান্তরে, আজ তোমারে দেখতে এলে অনেক দিনের পরে. So here is a difference also. See, the words also are quite different. It's like a more playful kind of a lyric, like as if two people, they are in love with each other, one person singing, but it's different from all the spiritual ones that we were doing. So Tagore's words are also very versatile in the lyrics that he has for his songs. Okay, so the next.
Actually, Tagore himself play any instruments?
I think he played piano.
Just piano.
Yeah, so this was Jeff Bauer's favorite.
Oh,
And we
yes.
have such a
Drums are-
wonderful, beautiful, if you can share with the class the video that he made
Oh,
with the
yes.
footage of Gandhi and Tagore together. So Karuna made what a wonderful video of me singing with Jeff's arrangement, and so and that's the best video music which I have. Nothing can.
It has
match
archival footage of Gandhi and Tagore.
It's
That's
just
something to get.
amazing. It's just amazing the way you made it. I mean, so this is inspired by the folk music of Bengal. So as you can see again here, the lyric is quite different from the spiritual side. It's speaking of the dusty red road that the Bengal villagers have. গ্রাম ছাড়া ওই রাঙা মাটির পথ আমার মন ভোলায় রে গ্রাম ছাড়া ওই রাঙা মাটির পথ আমার মন ভোলায় রে ওরে কার পানে মন হাত বাড়িয়ে ওরে কার পানে মন হাত বাড়িয়ে লুটিয়ে যায় ধুলায় রে আমার মন ভোলায় রে গ্রাম ছাড়া ওই রাঙা মাটির পথ মন ভোলায় রে বুঝে আমায় ঘরের বাহির করে পায়ে 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 ধরে ওরে হায় হায় রে ও যে কেড়ে আমায় নিয়ে যায় রে ও যে কেড়ে আমায় নিয়ে যায় রে যায় রে কোন চুলায় রে আমার মন ভোলায় রে ও কোন বাঁকে কি ধন দেখাবে কোনখানে কি দায় ঠেকাবে কোথায় গিয়ে শেষ মেলে যে কোথায় গিয়ে শেষ মেলে যে ভেবেই না ভুলায় রে আমার মন ভোলায় রে গ্রাম ছাড়া ওই রাঙা মাটির পথ আমার মন ভোলায় রে So this was the song which was Mahatma Gandhi's most favorite. Oh no, not this one. Sorry, I'll do this later. Or actually I can, yeah, let's do this one first. So this was Mahatma Gandhi's favorite Tagore's song, which I also did offered this year during Gandhi Jayanti. যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে তবে একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো রে তবে একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো রে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে যদি কেউ কথা না কয় ওরে ওরে ও অভাগা কেউ কথা না কয় যদি সবাই থাকে মুখ ফিরায় সবাই করে ভয় তবে পরাণ খুলে তুই মুখ ফুটে তোর মনের কথা একলা বলো রে যদি তোর ডাক যদি সবাই ফিরে যায়, ওরে ওরে ও অভাগা সবাই ফিরে যায়, যদি গহন পথে যাবার কালে কেউ ফিরে না যায়, যদি গহন পথে যাবার কালে কেউ ফিরে না যায়, তবে পথের কাঁটাও তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে। যদি আলো না ধরে, ওরে ওরে ও অভাগা আলো না ধরে, যদি ঝড় বদলে আধার রাতে দুয়ার দেয় ঘরে, যদি ঝড় বাদলে আধার রাতে দুয়ার দেয় ঘরে, তবে বজ্রানলে আপন বুকের পাঁজর চালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা জলরে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলরে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলরে। Can we
translate the title of that song?
Yeah, it means if no one answers your call, walk alone. Can we go back to the previous? So this was the one which is influenced by Auld Lang Syne. So just this.
Both the meaning and the melody
Yeah,
have
yeah.
something in common.
Yeah, that's the thing. So you all know Auld Lang Syne. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of Auld Lang Syne? For Auld Lang Syne, my dear, for Auld Lang Syne, or leave a kiss, cup of kindness set for Auld Lang Syne. So Tagore wrote this song, which is also very much, it's invoking the same kind of feeling. I mean, those good old days and all that. So this became an icon for nostalgia in the Bengali tradition. We never had this concept of nostalgia. It was, incorporated by this Tagore's music. পুরানো সেই দিনের কথা ভুলবি কি রে, হয় ও সে চোখের দেখা প্রাণের কথা সে কি ভোলা যায়। আয় আর একটি বার আয় রে সখা প্রাণের মাঝে আয়, মোরা সুখের দুঃখের কথা কব প্রাণ জুড়াবে তাই। মোরা ভোরের বেলা ফুল তুলেছি দুলেছি দোলায়, বাজিয়ে বাঁশি গান গেয়েছি বকুলের তলায়। হায় মাঝে হলো ছাড়া ছাড়ি গেলেম কে কোথায়, আবার দেখা যদি হলো সখা প্রাণের মাঝে আয়। পুরানো সেই দিনের কথা ভুলবি কি রে, হয় ও সে চোখের দেখা প্রাণের কথা সে কি ভোলা যায়। Okay, now I think I'll move on to the last song, which is no, not this one. So I'll do this one. So this is again, so Tagore borrowed genres from different parts of the world. Like Indian classical also has the North Indian and the South Indian. So most of the melodies that I did earlier were like the North Indian kind of melodies. So this is invoked by or inspired by a South Indian melody. Yeah, we'll do it
We'll have to
sometime.
talk to David.
Yeah. আনন্দ লোকে মঙ্গল গ্রহ তারক চন্দ্র তপন ব্যাকুল দ্রুত বেগে করিছে পান করিছে স্নান অক্ষয় কিরণে আনন্দ লোকে মঙ্গলালোকে বিরাজ সত্য সুন্দর ধরণী পর ঝরে নির্ঝর মোহন মধু শোভা ফুল পল্লব গীত গন্ধ সুন্দর বরণে আনন্দ লোকে মঙ্গলালোকে বিরাজ সত্য সুন্দর জগতে তব কি মহোৎসব বন্দন করে বিশ্ব জগতে তব কি মহোৎসব বন্দন করে বিশ্ব শ্রী সম্পদ ভূমাস্পদ নির্ভয় শরণে আনন্দ লোকে মঙ্গলালোকে বিরাজ সত্য সুন্দর Thank you.
I have a hard time, I would say that's my favorite, but I would say that probably over and over with all of the Tagore songs.
Yeah, but this is really, and
It
I
is a
really
beautiful
miss
one.
Jeff when I do this. His beautiful, beautiful piano arrangement.
They may have some questions,
Absolutely.
Sudeshna, and maybe before you go, we could play the video.
Yeah, please, why don't you play that? The Gramchara?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
I just wondered, the early ones that were sang before, but they were sung at different times of day and night.
Mhm.
Do individuals in their homes by themselves sing these?
They
Or-
do, but they also obey the convention. So, for example, the afternoon melody they would only sing during the afternoon. So
Yeah, that
that's
was my question.
Yeah,
You would never.
yeah. Normally people won't do it. I mean, sometimes maybe they would, but I mean they're so much into that culture of this melody only goes
Sure.
during this part of the day. So they
There
would
are
normally
seasonal melodies too.
yeah, there are seasonal
Rainy
melodies.
season.
Rainy,
harvest.
autumn, spring, all this, yeah.
Is this the instrument that they would commonly use? Or would
This
it-
is so this has a history like this, as I said, came from France to India, and if we actually think about the Indian music, the structure of Indian music, no keyboards actually would go with the Indian music because we have so many microtones. Like I was telling you about the melody, the same notes with so many microtones would produce a different melody, a different rag. So normally, since here everything is kind of discrete, right? So we don't have the microtones. So a keyboard normally doesn't really go with Indian music. But over the time, I'm told by my gurujis that when this instrument came to India, some of the very famous classical musicians started using this in place of some of the string accompanying music instruments, which are called sarangi or israj, which is the standard vocal. A person is singing, a vocalist is being accompanied by that string instrument, which is called israj or sarangi. So somehow some of the very important musicians started using this, and this became like the mainstream.
It was
So
popularized.
Maybe it's very, in some sense, very convenient, and whatever reasons, this became mainstream.
Could you, excuse me, could you demonstrate some of the tones of that? Because I know there are keys that you can.
Right. So, like for example, yeah. So are you talking about the melodies that I did?
No, aren't there drone keys or keys you can place so that?
Yeah, you can do that too. Like I can just
But
like this. I can do.
so that it's almost like a chord.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You can do that, and people do that because as this has a Western origin, you can play chords here. Yeah,
But Indian
absolutely.
music doesn't have
Harmony.
harmony. It's
Yeah.
only melody and rhythm.
Mm.
So you're gonna get a lot more of this when we have sitar and tabla in a few weeks. But
Yeah, but normally we don't have harmony, as Karuna said. But now in the contemporary Indian music, people are incorporating harmony. Even Gurujis used to sing; they used to harmonize. So my some of my music teachers, they used to harmonize, which brought a beautiful effect into their music. But that's not extremely traditional, I would say. Yeah.
Where did you learn?
I learned music in Kolkata where I was born. So I took training in classical music for 10 years. And then side by side, I started taking lessons on Tagore's music. Because any kind of music I want to do, I need to have a classical training. So I took the classical training primarily because I wanted to sing Tagore's music. Because being a Bengali, I grew up with this music, and the lyrics are so important that for me, culturally, I can only connect to music if the lyrics are very rich. Traditionally, Indian classical music does not have a very rich lyric. The lyrics are generally very simple, and there may be a reason to that because the music is so rich, they don't want to put too much emphasis on the lyrics. So the lyrics are very simple generally, they don't have a lot of poetic value in general. But Tagore's music is very rich in poetry. So it's sometimes compared to a style of music, genre of music, which is a German style, which is called Lieders, where the poetry is also very important. So it's sometimes compared to that. So since I grew up with that the lyrical part is always very important. So I feel more comfortable when I'm performing Tagore's music. I do perform Indian classical sometimes, but again, I have that, that kind
How
of
would you
connection.
define classical music in India?
So this is a rich tradition which started during the 5000 BC or something. It started with chanting. Like I did the Upanishads, the first sloka. So it started during that time, and that genre is actually called the Dhrupad, the most ancient form of Indian music. So that's how it started. But then there were the lighter forms came with different cultures. Like when the Mughals came to our country, we had the lighter forms of which are very rich again. And so after Dhrupad, we had the other genre which we have in Indian classical, which is more popular these days. It's called a khayal. Khayal means free-flowing imagination. So, but khayal is more attuned to performance as opposed to Dhrupad is more contemplative. And Tagore's family was actually very much influenced by the Dhrupad style because Bengal had which we call a school we call Gharana. So in Bengal, we had a Gharana of Dhrupad. So his family was very influenced by Dhrupad. So whatever music Tagore composed has that essence of Dhrupad in it. It has a contemplative style. It's not so much of the Khayal style, which is more flowery and
More
romantic and kind of interacting with the audience, rather than Dhrupad, which is more contemplative. So there's that difference.
So when you perform classical Indian music, do you use the harmonium?
Yeah, so as I said, that some of the very prominent Indian musicians make this mainstream. So now, if you go to a concert, most likely you will see that the vocalist is accompanied by this instrument, though the vocalist would not play it himself or herself. There will be another person who will follow the vocalist. Whatever he or she is singing, that will be followed in this instrument. And whenever the vocalist wants to take a break, she or he will give a cue to the harmonium player, and they will do a pattern of the rag in the harmonium.
And that would be another differentiation with the classical music. Though there are fixed structures and cycles, you have improvisation. And in Tagore's music, these are fixed compositions.
Yeah, so that is something also which Tagore was very impressed by the Western notation. So as opposed to Indian culture, we don't have so much the tradition of notation. All Tagore songs have notations. There are 63 volumes of that. So he simply said that sing as I have composed it. Don't try to do your improvisation.
So he wrote all the
He
music
wrote-
for all the
Yeah.
poems he wanted to.
Yeah, and he did all the notations, which is not normal not so much of a tradition in Indian music. We don't have notations. It's like the listening tradition. The teacher sings, the student listens, and then the student again sings, and his students or her students will listen. So it's an oral tradition. But Tagore was very impressed during his trip to England, so he introduced notation for his music, and there are 63 volumes of his.
But his notation is sargam, it's not Western
Yeah,
notation.
so though he used the notation, he didn't use the staff notation. He used the Indian notes to write his notations. But the idea came from the Western music.
Was all his music accompaniment for text?
Sorry, what did
I
you
say, was all his music an accompaniment for text?
Oh, wait, all
Text.
melody for the lyrics, yes.
Yeah.
So he didn't compose any freestanding, just music?
Yes.
Music he composed was
Right.
for his poetry.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think most of the time he first composed the poetry and then the music.
Okay.
Most of the time, but sometimes I have heard that some tune came to his mind and he put words into that. That also happened.
Also with no poem or anything, just the music.
No, there is no such thing. I mean, he didn't compose anything with just music. It was
He
always
had poetry.
there was always poetry because these are songs. These are not just music. It's always songs. Yeah.
That's why Gitanjali is song
Offerings, yes.
If you were giving a concert to a large number of people in a hall, would the instrument be bigger? Or
That's a very good question. Actually, the actual size of a harmonium is bigger than this. It has more octaves.
it does?
But
This is a nice travel one.
yeah, so
Yeah.
this is good to travel with.
Yeah.
And most of the time, Indian music doesn't go too many octaves. It's more or less limited to 2 octaves, I would say, at the most 2.5. So this pretty much serves our purpose.
Can we take a look at that?
Absolutely. Feel free to if you want to play.
You take a look at it.